lane very, very early on. And that seems to be what will be the case with this Nami being locked in. And of course, the opportunity to pick up a priority jungler. Shun had a lot of very solid engages on that Wukong, but the Vi is also something I value quite heavily into a pick like the Zeri. Such easy lockdown from pretty much as soon as you hit level 6. I'd like to see it go through, and it will. Now JDG have the opportunity to answer their jungle, and of course, you should suspect they still go the Yuumi or the Lulu.
Vi is a nice little pickup here, especially when you have got the Maokai banned away, so you know that you're not going to be going into just basically death every time you try to go in with no one able to follow up with you. Now JDG, see what they want to try and move back towards. Of course, the Sejuani was something we saw a hell of a lot of in 2022, more so in the top side than in the jungle. But Kanavi says, all right, if you're not going to take the Wukong, I will. And maybe they don't go with the Yuumi. I feel like the Zeri-Yuumi combination is still a very potent one, but it does struggle a little bit against Nami Lucian. So they're taking the Lulu and saying, look, we know we're not going to get dived now, because if the Vi, the Nami, and the Lucian jump on our faces, we need some kind of defense against that.
Yep, I think the call is we feel like Lulu probably gives us a little bit more when dealing with the dive, and also just the 2v2 lane as well. So I like the pickup either way. I think both options are very strong. They both provide similar things. Just kind of going about it in different ways. Second ban phase though, what would be the focus here from BLG? I suspect they're going to give counter pick over to Bin. So maybe 2 mid lane bans away from Knight's champion pool. Carly did give them a fair amount of trouble.
Syndra maybe?
Yeah, Syndra as well could be a really, really strong option. And for JDG, I think a nice little Gwen ban would probably do them quite well. As Bin was a massive menace in game number 1. And from there, well, it's their oyster. They can kind of ban whatever they feel like they don't want to have to deal with from the solo laners of BLG.
We could obviously have a bit of a moment here while bans are coming in. The Ahri being banned away from Yagao. But the meta, despite so many changes to the jungle, even the Hex Rift and everything like that, the meta hasn't really changed that drastically to what we were seeing in 2022. We are still seeing very hyper, focus on the bot lane with an engaged jungler, and then kind of the solo laners that can just pick people off. And I just wanted to pick your brains just a little bit here and say, like, why do you think we're seeing that? Why do we still think that the meta has, kind of quote-unquote stuck in its same kind of state since the 2022 World Championship?
Oh, loaded question. Honestly, it could be a whole bunch of reasons, to be honest with you, Oisin. Like, players are very, very temperamental when it comes to picks and changes, right? They'll always definitely float towards what makes the most sense, right? The meta at the end of the day. But I think, realistically, the changes weren't so wide sweeping that we needed a whole new champion pool, and Yagao's gonna give us a Taliyah. So that says to me, BLG don't want to play out this mid lane 1v1 at all, and we're going to see Yagao try and get mid lane priority. Maybe Shun comes through the mid lane and forces it, and they're going to go towards sides. They're going to go towards Elkin On in what should be a winning 2v2 matchup, and Bin as well, who should have the counter matchup up in the top side to try and force some plays on either side of the map.
Looking for big AoE ultimates and kind of putting back the ball into Ruler's hands and saying, you are our spiker. You are the guy who's going to be getting us the big points, the big moves here in these late game, mid to late game team fights. And honestly, you're kind of looking at the side of BLG. They're kind of an anti-Ruler team right now. They're saying we got the Taliyah, the Vi, the Nami, and if they lock in this Gnar as well, very hard for Ruler to actually position in a lot of these team fights.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, from BLG's perspective here, going Gnar, it kind of makes sense. You have to try and match the team fight prowess that JDG just locked in one rotation. Such a scary rotation. Lissandra plus Kennen when you're already such a short-range team composition. It's going to be really free for 369 and Knight to always find the targets they want, in my opinion. And Kanavi is never going to be a slouch on finding engages with whoever the target call-out will be. I think the onus is really on BLG to get the ball rolling here. I think that Yagao needs to have a really, really solid laning phase. Him and Shun need to pair up very early on to shut down Ruler, get Lucian and Nami to a point where they are super oppressive, where they're diving forward with one item.
What, an 8-game day at the moment? We are going to go straight in and see quite a few people here looking towards this bot side. Missing taking a fair chunk back on his part, and they will take that ward as well.
Yeah, brush control though, super important for this 2v2 in the bottom side. And JDG will be going into the lane with that brush control. Swept away one ward, got a ward in that third brush as well. So could see how that alters the level 1 interactions and trades. Decent start for JDG all around. Nothing else too out of place on the rest of the Rift. There's a red ward on this blue buff, so if Kanavi does start on the top side, which it looks like he won't be, and they would have had full information, but there will be a ward, which definitely did get seen by Shun. So JDG will have pretty good information about where Shun is starting, of course, and through a little bit of deduction, BLG certainly know where Kanavi is off the start of his buff.
They had got the information, they dropped down the ward. I think they wanted to give that gold over fully to Yagao, but then Yagao couldn't really reach it over the wall, so his automatic pathing was getting him a little bit stuck, sadly for him, so does not get that full gold for that, but still gets the XP difference, so it's not all lost as we wait to see now where both these teams kind of go, as 369 already starting to put down a little bit of hurt. We're not going to see an AD Kennen like we did earlier today, Jamada. We are seeing full burst, full kill lane, and full AP.
Yeah, and look at this though, right? Lucian, Nami, they're not really the strongest level 1 champions. Level 2, a little bit scarier. Level 3, definitely, you know, the power point, and then they kind of just get stronger until around level 9, first item. But this ward there, controlled by JDG at level 1, has given Missing and Ruler the opportunity to just have positive trades. They had the information in the bush always. They always pick and choose just the weaving of auto attacks from Missing, and it's giving them level 2 first. It's giving them a little bit of an advantage here.
You gotta be super careful.
Yeah, dashing directly in.
You still gotta respect it. Lucian Nami, of course, was nerfed a couple of patches ago before Worlds, but that didn't really stop it. It just kind of stopped Nami from getting electrocuted off as quickly as she did. She said, all right, I'll take Airy. And that still works fairly well in that particular instance. And now Shun, you can see, starting to see if he can maybe make something work along this bot side, or maybe even the mid lane.
No, bot side seems to be the port of call. I mean, they know that Kanavi's not down here because they had the ward on the blue buff. So pathing should have been that way. The wave is stacking, but this is a lot of respect from Lulu and Missing. I mean, the wave is crashing back. They did crash it at level 2, so controlling the wave state to their favor. Lulu picks up a longsword, control ward, he'll be back to base. Now, the wave is hard shoved, so might miss a couple of minions, but still very positive as 369 having a much more positive start to the lane in comparison to game number 1 up here on the Kennen.
Yeah, nice flick back there from Yagao. Doesn't really have the mana to push it. Will say, excuse me, he has a Summoner Spellbook, so gotta be careful. Actually, both Knight and Yagao have Summoner Spellbooks, so you gotta be very aware and checking that tab every now and again when they TP back in from a lane, because you might find yourself with an Ignite or two to deal with. Knight feeling a bit more confident because he has the mana advantage even if he doesn't have the health one. And with Kanavi off to the wings, Yagao might be forced to use a Summoner Spell here, and he will indeed have to flash away. But while that's happening, top side, 369 finds himself on the bad trade with Bin. And with the Mega coming ever so slightly sooner, he needed to get himself out of dodge.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to note about this Lissandra pick as well is this is 13.1. She did receive a couple of overarching buffs. The one's important to note. Off the top of my head, that Q slow being a little bit heftier, but also the Ring of Frost, the W, having its cooldown lowered at all levels. That's a really important buff, simply because most Lissandras are taking Emax seconds. So having an ability, a base ability, that you're not putting many points into be buffed very early on, very important. Hold the point, as 369 is going to find Shun.
He's going to find him.
Too much.
But just going to be defending the pink with his honor, is missing. Not going to get Aqua Prisons just yet. Navi off to the side, and now Elk needs to be very careful. You can see they want to try and push this wave up because it is sitting at a very precarious and unfortunate angle. But they can't quite go forward knowing that their top laner, or excuse me, their jungler just showed top lane.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of interesting lane scenarios where I think JDG's lane was going to actually slow push out anyway, but it's kind of held in a temporary freeze, so it's a window for Kanavi to actually try and sneak in, find a gank. Would have been a dank gank, but it wasn't.
Dank ganks are good.
Dank ganks are pretty good.
I like dank ganks. Yeah. It's a fun time. Yeah. Not a lot happening, so might as well talk about the dank ganks. Don't think any dank ganks are going to happen here, because Kanavi needs a reset. He's stayed out a little longer than usual, which actually might mean a first dragon going over the side of BLG. So stopping that early stacking that went against them in the first game, making sure that it doesn't happen to them again.
Yeah, good read, honestly, from Shun. Probably just press tab, recognized, okay, this guy's just not been back to base in 5.5 minutes. He'll take this reset and just go towards this dragon. So even though Elk went on They aren't inherently dominating this lane like you would maybe like to with a Nami Lucian lane. They are still a little bit up in CS. I think it's more like dead even, to be fair. But pressure of the lane and the timing of Kanavi's reset does mean that they will pick up that first dragon. And we'll see whether or not they can snowball it, much like JDG did, into an early soul, but also early objective pickups in general, right? Early Herald pickup as well to try and snowball that into another dragon in 4.5 minutes time.
Yagao is going to find Kanavi after they take away the scuttle. Dragon did go over to BLG. Gold is dead even. It's honestly pretty much even across the board. Only a couple of CS here or there. I will say that Shun is falling a tiny bit behind in the camp clearing, and you can kind of keep an easier eye on that through the use of the jungle items, see how many stacks they've got each side. So we'll see if he's able to kind of make that one back just a little bit more, as he has an entire top side to clear off, while both junglers kind of opposite sides of the map, not really kind of interacting with each other as of yet.
Not just yet. I'm still waiting for that first pull of the trigger from either team on an engage.
And where do you think it's going to come from? Where do you think it's going to be the best opportunity for either of these sides now that Dragon's been taken down? We do have Rift Herald, but where do you think is going to be the best moment for either of these teams to really crack open this game?
Well, you know, naturally, your eyes are definitely drawn to a Nami Lucian lane, but I think with Herald coming up, this could be the first place we actually get a big fight. Remember, loads of big team fight ultimates on both sides, right? Specifically from JDG, massive AoE if Knight can find a good angle. He doesn't even have to hit, you know, the likes of Yagao or Elk. As long as he hits someone that's making it very difficult for the rest of the team to follow through, because Bin steps a little bit far forward looking for an engage to slow the rest of BLG down. It doesn't matter, but there you go. The engage comes in after the fact.
It does indeed. You got the Taliyah wall as well, and there's nowhere for 369 to go. He's not even going to bother flashing because he knows he is dead. Another first blood, another 3-6-9-3. But now that means the Rift Herald has been stopped. Yagao might be in a little bit of trouble. He does not have flash just yet, and he's not going to get it back in time. Hop it, a skip it, a jump, a heal by Knight to make sure he doesn't actually get caught out by Shun on the re-engage. And ends up being a 1-for-1, and again, gold dead even.
Yep, spellbook kill though, so, you know, not the end of the world. Just make sure he gets that little bit of extra distance. Yagao just caught out as they rotate back towards the river. You would expect the chain of play was going to be this Herald, but now they're down Yagao, and Missing already rotated up. A little bit behind on, but Elk is here. That's a lot of damage.
It's a hell of a lot of damage. He holds on to his flash, but he keeps the heal to be used. And that means that the Rift Herald will go over to the side of BLG. So despite all the pressure, despite everything they've done, it's BLG coming out with 2 objectives. But look at Ruler on this bot side. That's 3 plates.
And these plates, don't forget, are worth more than Season 12. So it's 175 gold per plate. I think Ruler and Missing had 1 plate off that tower beforehand, but if I'm wrong, that means that was 3 entire plates going into Ruler's back pocket. That's a scary amount of gold to give that man, as you can see. Topside play, not really much 369 can do. Finn gets his kill, and the rotation comes in, and the immediate lockdown of the Yagao. Not able to move. Knock up into Knight, into another knock up. Just has nowhere to go. He's trying to angle a flash, maybe. I'm not sure if it was quite up yet from the earlier play.
Couple of seconds,
it looks like. I think you're right. Just unfortunate timing for him. It just means that JDG trade out the kill.
And they traded out, but BLG do end up getting the Rift Herald, as we did mention, and with a minute 20 until Dragon spawns means they actually might have a little bit of a pressure point here to be able to secure themselves 2 dragons in a row. Might be another Mountain Drake. We might see a kind of a red side dominance for the Mountain side. We'll see how they end up going as we get 369 just taking a hell of a chunk. Not quite going down, but does lose his flash. And again, not having that big teamfight ultimate just before a dragon fight. You'd imagine JDG might just take it as a sign to say, you know what, it's only second dragon, we don't need to take this fight.
Yep, definitely. I feel like JDG showed a great amount of discipline in the last game, and when to take fights as a unit, maybe not individually at times. But even then, some of those self-sacrifices from members like Ruler and Kanavi just kind of gave enough for the rest of the team to clean up the mess. So we'll see. Like you say, I feel like they don't really need to contest the next dragon. They scale so well, right? So many team fight abilities that just make it very difficult for a short-range comp like BLG to function.
Yagao does flash away. He's trying to see if he can stay off it, but the flick back is just not quick enough. That's a solo kill going over to Kanavi and showing the power of this Wukong. As we can see, maybe 369 a little bit of trouble. Nard into the wall. Does have the Slightly Maelstrom, but shouldn't really need it at this point in time. But BLG recognizing they need to make something happen because this Wukong's getting out of control.
Yes, it is. 2-0-0. 65 CS. Shun does have a pretty sizable CS lead, to be fair, but XP still going over to Kanavi. And he'll be approaching that Divine Thunder very quickly as 269. Bin. Oh.
Okay. I love how we both had the same reaction of just like, Bin, did you mess it up again? Did you make an oopsie? But no, he gets a solo.
Yeah. And now the Herald will likely be dropped up here as Teleport comes in from Knight to salvage the entire tower. So it's not an entire tower going over to Shun and Bin. And to be honest with you, I'd still like the Herald to be dropped in Elk's pocket anyway, but Karula and Missing Man, they don't care. They're past that point. Hello.
Not quite landing the ultimate there. It means he doesn't really kind of get that burst. So of course, not getting the stacks as well off of it. So not quite able to make that one work. And like I said, yeah, not really giving them full control over this top lane. But that does mean that they're putting it mid. So maybe looking to try to more control, more opportunities to open up the map with Yagao having maybe a bit more of a freer lane. But don't forget, Rift Herald also got changed. It doesn't take as many plates as it used to. It's no longer guaranteed 2.
Yeah, it's like 1.6k damage, I think, instead of that 2.2. So no longer the guaranteed 2 plate. As, yeah, we obviously saw 369 get chucked out. And the Slicing Maelstrom almost catches Bin in enough tower shots. But unfortunately, they just have more health to work with.
Now JDG, they're saying, all right, we can't let Bin become a monster. He's 2-0 already, and he was a bit of an issue last time around on the Gwen. This time he's got hard CC, quite a bit of it in that Mega Martinar form. So they're committing quite a few members to this. But again, this is the pulling and the pushing that is League of Legends. When one team makes one move, the other team needs to make another. It's that act of, whoever makes a reaction, there's an opposite and equal reaction. And that's how BLG need to keep playing.
Definitely, I think anytime.
Yeah, I think he needed to flash that.
I respect that, yeah. If he gets caught by that Ring of Frost, I think he would die. So, just keep himself alive, Bin. I know it might look a little bit goofy, but I promise you, it isn't. Kanavi has a Divine Thunderer. Shun comes to Shadow, but I think the play is more than likely over from JDG.
Shun might be over. He is currently fishing. It's a lot of damage onto him as well. They'll get straight on top of him, and there's nowhere for him to go. Elk try to put in some work here onto Ruler, but double flashes here from the bot lane. BLG losing summoners left, right, and center. And JDG, they're pumping in the gas. They're moving through the gears and really finding themselves in a great position here. Just kind of constantly forcing mistakes here. They haven't taken the tower just yet. Knight goes into stasis. Yagao does end up falling. Kanavi gets out. Knight flashes, and everybody lives.
Everybody lives. It's such clean execution on this tower dive from JDG. BLG just have no answer to that at all in the slightest. They take down Yagao very, very quickly after Shun's initial pick as well. Really clean stuff from the entire side of JDG. Just working in unison so beautifully there. I don't want to be a party pooper, but even though they're only 1k gold down, BLG feels like they're being slapped about a little bit.
Yeah, starting to feel a little bit rough right now. As you can see, this is just going to be the dive on the mid lane, and Yagao loses his crown to the Shattered Queen, and he just straight up just doesn't respect the fact that Knight just never used ultimate.
Yeah, like, I don't know, it is a bit awkward to just walk up to a Lissandra like that underneath the tower. Whole team follows up very, very quickly. Unless they don't get the tower, the pressure is still 1 over. However, it seems like reset timers off the back of that play do allow BLG to come back out to this Herald first. They'll start it up. But you can see, tentatively, a couple of members might want to poke their head in, but as you can see, Kanavi just based. So, this will be a Herald going over to BLG. See what they can get done with this second Herald, but quite frankly, I think right now what BLG need to do is try and use it around Elk, Nami Lucian. It's online. It's Mandate Gale Force. It's level 9. It's about at the peak of its power in terms of ability to snowball. So we need to see that be used quickly, to say the least.
Yeah.
So it feels like JDG are really in first era. They are in kind of a bit of a mental zen. They're ready. Ooh.
They're looking for something. Flash burnt by Ruler there. As you recognize, if he gets caught, he is dead. Kanavi has to use the decoy as well. Dragon going to be spawning in 20 seconds, and you've got 369 on a pretty decent flank, but Bin might be in no man's land. He's getting caught out here. Ring of Frost into the Everfrost, into the Frozen Tomb, into almost certain death. And that is just as easy as you like. This CC combination between the Wukong and Lissandra, BLG, they're just not respecting it.
It's just such a powerful duo. Lissandra, Wukong, you just can't move, even through Merc Treads. I'd imagine Bin probably even has tenacity in his runes as well. Maybe both sides, right? Resolve plus the Triumph tree. I forget what the other tree's called for some reason. But BLG, despite losing their top laner, will actually go towards this dragon and pick it up. JDG happy to actually take the trade of the top side tower. I think with Knight and Kanavi both expending their ultimates, they kind of know that is their initial engage before any more follow-up can come through from the likes of the Slicing Maelstrom from 369. So happily give up this objective in trade for a little bit of gold, some camps on the top side. And JDG just, again, I think discipline is the key word here. Taking their fights where they can. BLG doing what they can to stay relevant, as missing is probably going to die.
Most certainly going to die here. Never mind. Has got the Lulu speed up and the wild growth, and that's why they decided to go with the Lulu instead of the Yuumi.
Yeah. That knock-up looked quite far away. Maybe, you know, it always catches me off guard. I think it could have been a bit of a high ground, low ground scenario. Because, of course, that did happen right on the edge of the river. So a little bit unlucky on Elk's side, because if he doesn't get knocked up, I think he gets another auto in and missing probably dies.
Well, wasn't to be. It's the best way I can put it. But Bin now looking to try and take this up. Bin, honey, my boy. Look what they do to my boy. They don't know if they can kill him just yet, though, because they have got a TP from Yagao. But that TP was necessary to keep that man alive. And Bin, just little things like that, that's reminiscent to 2022, even 2021, where it's just like, you know, he could be an incredibly, you know, proficient and an exceptional top laner along the best of the best, but just little moments like that that just kind of make you feel like you have to play around him rather than him playing around you.
Yeah, and I think the crucial thing, though, even though Bin played that out pretty well, and the teleport that's come through from Yagao, is that Kanavi didn't have his Cyclone. If he had that up, I think Bin would have died, because right now, Kanavi is dealing a massive amount of damage, and I don't actually know if Shen was actually looking, fishing for missing.
Definitely looked like he was looking for the ward afterwards as he hit the Q and was like, all right, I'm going to start hitting this. But they end up getting control around the back of this red buff, and that's going to be the moment here for BLG, you would imagine, where they try to just make this Lucian work. Because like you said, they have got this, you know, Elk and on combination online, but it's not doing anything right now. They're not going anywhere with it. Now they have to make something work. There's the tidal wave coming over. Cyclone going to be going there. TP going to be used. That's a Lissandra coming in. There's going to be the Glacial Path trying to make something work. And there's J69 right on the backside. Elk will fall, and now you're getting the passive there as well. It's going to slow people down. It's going to really hurt them off. You can see Shun wanted to try and back away. And it ends up being a 1 for none. But you've lose so much here on BLG. Yes, it's only one death, but how can you defend mid?
Yeah, that's the thing. Mid lane tower's going to go down, and honestly, questioning Knight's choice to ult himself, I think he could have just pressed on forward, ulted Shun, and they would have locked him down as well. End of the day, just in the conditional kill, which they miss out on, not the end of the world, and they still get that mid lane tower. Bin down here with Yagao, just trying to press away at this tower the best they can. And I think they might just about get it. The response is kind of far away, and with Triforce procs, Bin should just about get this. Very high base AD. 600 gold goes into Bin's back pocket, but we've got to start seeing Bin intervene in these team fights. Truly get involved. Otherwise, I feel like we're just going to walk over the party here. Really nice knockback to try and stop the engage here from Knight, but you can see 369 just has clean access into the back line. Multiple flashes forced. And you'll see here what I talk about with Knight. He finds the kill onto Elk, and he ults himself. I think he wanted to avoid the bubble, I guess, but he's definitely in no fear of dying.
Could have been a misclick.
Could have been a misclick as well. They were right on top of each other. Definitely also a really good call machine.
But yeah.
Either way, play one.
Yeah. I mean, either way, you got yourself the mid-tier 1. You traded it in the grand scope of things for 2 towers on bot side and a couple of kills, of course. So the gold is still relatively even. It's only about a 1.5k lead, but This Lucian Nami is losing its relevance. Now, it'll always be very relevant, but the Zeri is becoming more relevant. Your power over this Zeri combination is just not really coming to fruition. And now that you have the Zhonya's here for Knight on the Lissandra, he's going to be far more willing to be able to kind of ult other people, to know that he's safe, to know that he can push forward. And look at BLG Bin. Bin's going straight into the hole breaker. He's saying, look, we're done. I'm not going to be grouping. I need to be on the side.
that point I made like 2 minutes ago about Bin coming to team fights, I lied.
Yeah.
I apologize, everybody. It seems like Bin has a different idea. As Knight, that's a lot of damage.
Oh, that Aqua Prison. So close there to catching him out there. But now Bin, he's looking for the hole breaker, and 369's got no flash. He's got nowhere to go, and he is dead. Now we're looking at a 4v4, and they've lost Vi. Knight goes into stasis. He's going to have Azanya's available to him as well.
Bin has R.
Still has R available to him. Ruler does not get caught out. Now he does, and now he's dead. Double boil and trouble. Catches them both out. Doesn't matter if it's the decoy or not. And BLG spark into life.
Huge for BLG. They can go towards the Baron now. They finally caught JDG out. 369 gets caught out by Bin, and Bin is able to rotate in and clean house and lock down the man they've been looking for all series long in Ruler. And they will get this Baron now and potentially be able to claw this game back. Let's take a look at the replays. 369 just pops the slicing maelstrom immediately. He knows the trouble he's in, and Bin just runs him down. Easy as you like, and then the rotation comes in. The initial engage on top of Shun here goes down immediately. Knight self-ults to keep himself alive, but they just push a bit too far forward. They're not expecting Bin to rotate so quickly, potentially. Just lose track of him, and Ruler slammed into the wall. CC out cleans that kill up. Aqua Prison lands onto Kanavi. Really nice stuff from On. Everything just clicks for BLG in that team fight. And they can pick up this dragon and hopefully claw back some gold, get some towers under their belt. I say claw back some gold, they're actually now 2,000 gold up. Baron buff kills, held them up a little bit. JDG definitely not out of it. Of course, so many scaling aspects. And even if 369 is super far behind, I think over the years we've seen what one single slicing Maelstrom ultimate can do to change a game. But right now, it's about this man on your screen, isn't it, Bin? He's been so powerful on the side lanes.
It really, really has. And Ruler getting caught out there. The reason why I said 1 second, he was 1 second away from his E, from getting that spark surge over the wall into safety, and he just could not keep it safe. But Bin, actually Kanavi, needs to be careful here. They're getting caught out. Missing! Oh, he's missing a fair bit of health now. And that's just not going to be good enough at the moment, because you can see Ruler getting double tapped as well. This is the Lucian Nami we expected to see, and this is why it's so powerful. They're even going to use the tidal wave. That's just to stop Ruler resetting. That's literally so they can keep this Baron push going.
But it's tempo, right? At the end of the day, you're forcing Ruler back. He has to walk all the way back to base now. Could give you a potentially strong rotation, either to the bottom side or just push more at mid lane. I mean, Ruler's still coming out now. Knight just got culled down to a percentage of HP where he needs to go back to base now. And BLG taking it up another gear. JDG had a very firm control of this game early on. But one fight where Bin gets involved is all it's taken. And all of a sudden, it's BLG are the ones who are on the front foot, and JDG are the ones who have to turtle through this Baron. 50 seconds left. It seems like the pressure will dissipate. BLG have opted into a reset. I'm not sure what more they'll be able to get out of this the time that they have left. So the map is going to kind of take a bit of a soft reset, but the damage definitely inflicted onto JDG here. Elk definitely very much online now. 2.5 items. He's even got an additional dirt going towards the Infinity Edge as well. So just that extra bit of pen to just push that damage. Yeah, just push that damage forward. He has had it for a while, of course. It is the build path you go for.
We'll see if they're just so incredibly hard to deal with right now, and you can see they're fishing, looking to see if they can catch somebody out in the wrong rotation, somebody in the wrong place, the wrong time, and these are the small little things that could make the difference here in this game. We're coming up to 25.5 minutes. It is a 3,000 gold lead in favor of BLG. They're the ones on Soul Point as well, with 2 minutes 40 until that objective spawns, and Right now, it's looking like JDG are the ones that are kind of lacking in the L department for initiative. They're the ones that they got a lot of great picks with this Wukong Lissandra combination, but after that, they've just not been able to do it. And I gotta say it, 369 has not had he's had a series to forget.
Yes, he certainly has. I think you're right, Oisin. I think they need to find that gear again. They need to find that tone where Knight and Kanavi are just finding picks, turning fights into uneven odds. Even if they expend 2 ults to kill 1 person, it's still going to be a 5v4 after that, and you're still going to have, hopefully, a 369 ultimate to boot to back up a team fight after the fact. But BLG, since that fight where Bin got involved in the mid lane, just been very, very disciplined. The key word for me of this series. I feel like they're just going to slowly press and play around Bin. Even though he's got that hull breaker, just make sure you leverage the pressure he's bringing you, right? And wait for this mountain now to spawn up 90 seconds away. That'll be Soul. It was JDG that had the Soul pressure last game. This time around, it is BLG. And a Mountain Soul could definitely make this so impossible to deal with. As a lot of damage.
A lot of damage. And I just want to call out something real quickly, just because it's new. I love the Radiant Virtue here for the Vi on Shun right now. If you're not quite sure what it does, when you ultimate, you get Transcended. And what that does is it gives you a 10% increased maximum health. So you get a nice little bit of extra buff, especially for something like a Vi who's going to be in the face of all of the enemy team. Having that extra little bit of HP is going to be so massive towards those late game team fights.
Yeah, it will be. I think JDG, again, opening up a team fight is going to be more important for them. Feels like for BLG, they just need Bin to be there. That's the difference maker.
369.
Oh, yeah, 369. So we're talking about the start of fights.
Huge.
They don't know.
Huge! Oh, he's not quite able to get it exhausted immediately, but everyone's now flashing away. This is BLG on the ropes. This is JDG looking for a haymaker. Right on top of them, Yagao is dead. Bin not quite able to get the damage down just yet. Knight will go golden. He's going to go for his own stasis. You can see now El trying to move forward. Shun jumps straight in onto 369 as he goes down and dies. There goes Lissandra, and now El can start to free fire. Bin did his job. Bin did everything he needed to do to get them back in on top of this. And now Kanavi needs to try and get out of this alive, because if he dies, that's going to be the Mountain Soul, and it is almost certainly going to be that. The Mountain Soul, the Baron, everything their hearts desires will be theirs.
Yeah, they were thinking there, back and forth. Soul, Baron, what are we going to do? You can see now, because they're not going towards the Baron, Ruler and Missing, they're going towards that Dragon. Bin's going to go down and try and dissuade this pickup here, but Ruler and Missing could probably kill him, to be honest with you. Polymorph, no, they want to step away.
Mega.
He's getting bigger. I mean, he's about to hit Mega. They need to step away, I think, now that that bar has filled up. And that potential cross map will no longer be available to JDG. This should be Baron and Soul for BLG in the same window of time. And hopefully for them, an equalization of the series, because they definitely needed it after what was a very, very dire-looking start. As it's just a beautiful flank from 369. No one knows he's there. It forces everything out from Elk, but I feel like after the initial engages, perhaps just a little bit too split, right? It takes a little bit too long for JDG to finish up those kills up there towards the north side of the fight. Knight, not sure how he overstepped, to be entirely honest with you, but he oversteps into Bin's very calm and waiting hands, and it's just Shun who finds himself an angle to get this turnaround going for Elk to be able to open up and take everyone down. And whilst he was in that replay, as expected, Soul picked up by BLG. So Soul, Baron, what can they get done? Expect to see utilization of Bin on a side lane again. He's so powerful, level 18. 3 items, Force of Nature, building towards Aranduin's. At the point where really, I don't think anyone's going to kill him, Oisin. I think it's going to take a group effort, to say the least.
Yeah, and I love it. A group project. And you know what? Sometimes in a group project, some people do a little bit more work than others. And we all know who they are. And we don't say anything because we don't want to rock the boat and we just want to pass our degree. That's just how it is, you know? You don't want to try and get on the bad side of anybody. But now with the Baron buff pushing in, this is where the game gets a little bit more difficult here for JDG. They need to try and find some kind of an engage to kill off El. Because yes, even though they killed off Yagao, Yagao is a threat, but he's not the threat at the moment. And that's just going to be the big issue coming into this one here, is Shun just making sure that there is absolutely no flank opportunity. And Bin, he's close, but he's still got the hull breaker, so he's still going to be able to be relevant in team fights as well as being able to split push.
Yep, Mega as well now. Out of resists. the whole spiel. You know it by now. Nal's been in the game for 7 years. 8, I think. As the base will break open. We're getting War Machine.
I think it was Nami's 10th birthday there over Christmas or something. Something crazy.
Double inhibs. And JDG last legs here. I think BLG know they want to pounce. They're going forward.
Here we go. They're going to jump straight on top of him. He will get Elk, but there's just no one to follow up. Ruler couldn't get there in time. Nexus at number 1 does fall. Kanavi trying to keep Bin away. Ruler has to be the hero, has to show what he's worth, and he is going to get broken down. Immediate exhaust onto 369 means he can't get away. Ruler still going on the backside, but look at the minions. They're saying, all right, lads, this game's done. Charles, the Cannon minion, will get the last shot, and we are going to a 3rd game.
What a counterpunch from BLG. To be entirely honest with you, even the start of that game, it just felt like, all right, might be a quick 0-2 day. The BLG proposed super roster might be off to a pretty poor start, but they equalized the series. And it just felt like JDG took their foot off the gas a little bit, but also, I mean, let's be honest, Bin came out swinging in the side lane. Of course, a lot of help from the rest of his team in the early stages, but still, nonetheless, taking over the side lane after that help was massive from Bin, and it was just that one team fight in the mid lane where they locked down that man whose name is Ruler, who was trying to carry JDG on his back. And once that happened, once he got caught out that one time, the Baron pressure and the snowball effect that that fight had on the rest of the game was too much for them to overcome. And BLG held just about enough discipline to take over JDG and equalize the series.
Yeah, and I love the fact that, you know, obviously we're seeing a lot of priority on the Zeri, but there are plenty of things that can deal with it. Yes, the Zeri is still fantastic in pro play, but the Lucian, Nami, the pure burst that's available to you in those champions is just absurd. And if Shun and Lissandra, and honestly the Kennen as well, are not getting on top of you, like, well, sorry, not Shun, the Wukong and Kanavi, you're not going to be able to kill him. There's too much, you know, movement there. There's too much survivability, and you're just going to get you're just now in a bad compromised position from that point onwards. So it really does feel like this was just a really well executed composition from BLG. They understood their strengths, and JDG, like you said, just kind of took their foot off the gas. They were kind of winning this game. They felt like they had gotten Ruler past the horrible early stage. They knew what they could do. Sure, they picked up, you know, or missed up a couple of dragons, but that doesn't really matter. And then they just kind of fell away, and then it just all of a sudden click your fingers and BLG have won the game.
Yeah, I think it was just more about Kanavi and Knight not really finding those same opportunities. Maybe, you know, you can credit it both ways, right? You can say, all right, BLG, you know, got smacked on the wrist 2, 3 times, 4 times, really, and then just said, all right, no more. But also it felt like Knight and Kanavi weren't inherently pairing up as much as they were in the early stages to look for those picks as well. And, you know, questions about Elk and On in that lane, but by the end of it, he dealt by far the most damage in the game. No real surprises. However, I don't feel like Elk will be receiving the MVP for this game. I think there's another person who might be a little bit higher up on that priority list. There's the top laner of BLG as well. Second in damage on the team, but just provided so much. And again, effectively got the turnaround going for BLG in this game, because otherwise it was looking like it could have been a very easy, clean sweep for JDG.
Yeah, absolutely, completely agree. You can even see there nearly 30% of his team's damage there for Bin, highlighted in the 27.9%. It just works out for him, having an extra, you know, him and me on red side, getting that counter pick, and honestly, like, this top lane is an issue now for JDG. We went last year, 2022, 369, honestly had probably the split of his life, the season of his entire career. He is not hitting the ground running right now. Bin is just slapping him around, going like, you know, bam, 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 why are you hitting yourself? Well, put your hands up, like, no problem at all. But it just feels like 369 just isn't connected with the rest of his team, and it feels like even when he went in on that slicing Maelstrom, it was great, but everyone was about 3 or 4 screens away, so it didn't really feel like they could fully capitalize on it.
Yeah, you know, this top lane matchup so far this series, it's felt like watching Prime Ali versus any heavyweight fighter he went up against during the entirety of his career. It's been a bit of a nightmare for 369, and, you know, one of the things we did ask for from BLG was another matchup where, you know, Bin could take control, and that was definitely what we got out of BLG. And I think 369, JDG in general, they tried to go a route where he could still be useful with the slicing Maelstroms, but unfortunately, like you said, the one time he hit his mark excellently, it's too far away. There wasn't enough follow-up, and I just feel like they're a little bit too out of sync, as you mentioned, right? I think once the Knight and Kanavi engages fell flat on their face, and there wasn't really any more of those coming through, the whole entirety of the machine from JDG kind of just fell flat on its face entirely again. And BLG were happy to capitalize through the likes of Bin.
Yeah, they really, really were. And it really felt like BLG have got a winning formula right now. I feel like Shun and Bin working together should be a fantastic combo. The more time we give this duo, the more I hope to be impressed. But we'll have to wait and see. We are going the